What's up, Broncos country, and happy Monday. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Broncos Now. Believe it or not, training camp is almost over. Today marked day 11, and there's only 3 training camp practices left. And the team is just 5 days away from their first preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys at Empower Field at Mile High this Saturday. So coming up on today's episode of Broncos Now, we'll hear from head coach Nathaniel Hackett and all 3 coordinators as they prepare for this week's joint practice and game. Plus, we'll have analysis from today's practice, an injury update, and more. Following a day off yesterday, the Broncos were back at practice in shoulder pads this morning. It was a solid day of work for both the offense and the defense. Coach Hackett said the team responded much better this week coming off their rest day than they did last week.
I thought there was a lot better. I still think, for me, I don't think there was enough popping going on, and so we'll address that and talk about that. I thought the defense really did some good things, and the offense needs to match that. And this is the second time the offense was better from what they were last week, but still not good enough.
The offense finished their installs on Saturday and won't be learning anything new from here on out. So things are looking more consistent for them. And offensive coordinator Justin Allen said the offense is looking more comfortable every day.
The offense is hitting their stride a little bit more and getting more comfortable with the concepts that we're putting in. It's important for us to rotate and put guys in different spots. And that's the great thing about this system is there's a lot of formations that these guys need to know, whether they're a tight end or a receiver or a back. Just knowing every position on the field, that way we can put people in places to take advantage of the defense. And we've done a little bit more of that, and we've been successful with it.
Another full padded practice is planned for tomorrow as the team prepares for the Cowboys to visit on Thursday. Coach Hackett details what he hopes to see from this team during that joint practice.
Some great competition. You want to see those guys step up. I think the best thing about going against a team like Dallas is, it's always, just going against different people is always great, but it's also a completely different scheme than what we face. I think that's something we're always looking for is, you go against this defense day in and day out. You understand the intricacies on how to beat it, but now you're facing a completely different animal with what Dallas is going to bring in here. So one, it's about being able to adjust on all the things that we've been working on up to this point to now a completely different front structure. And then at the same time, watch those guys compete and get after it and play together and have a nice, good practice, clean practice that we could just see different guys attack others.
And with the preseason game versus the Cowboys being just 5 days away, defensive coordinator Ejiro Ivero and special teams coordinator Dwayne Stukes are looking forward to evaluating their guys.
We're looking for guys that want to compete. The lights aren't too big for them. And, my philosophy in the preseason, we're not too much worried about scheme. The game plan is going to be more tailored towards execution and evaluation and seeing guys winning one-on-one matchups. And so that's what we're looking for.
Obviously, we base our reps off the offense and defense when we can play guys. But it's an important evaluation for those guys. We're trying to put the guys in the best positions to allow them to make plays, but it's up to them to execute our techniques and fundamentals from practice and apply them to the game. So it'll be big for a lot of guys to show what they can do.
Now joining me here in the podcast studio is Broncos lead writer Eric Delala. Eric, nice little break this weekend, but happy to be back here.
Yeah, that's right. Training camp it chugs along.
It does. Seemed like a solid practice today from both the offense and the defense. Eric, just what were your observations from the day?
Yeah, I think offensively, better focus than you had last Monday when the Broncos came off that off day. I think Nathaniel Hackett liked more of what he saw. The deep shots, I think in particular, are something that you continue to see day after day. You saw Josh Johnson hit Jalen Virgil deep on a pass. You saw Russell Wilson look for Cortland Sutton and draw a pass interference call. Then later, he looked for Cortland again, who made one of his better catches of training camp over Ronald Darby. We obviously hope Ronald's okay. Got a little shaken up there. But I think that's going to be a big part of this offense. They're going to continue to look deep. They're going to continue to try to stretch the field. Nathaniel Hackett's all about explosive plays, and I think the exciting thing about this wide zone scheme is that you suck people in by running it out wide. You need the linebackers to kind of clamp down and make those plays. Yeah. Then through play action, you're able to look deep. And Nathaniel Hackett, he kind of joked. He said, Tyrone Wheatley, the running backs coach, comes up to me and says, chuck it deep every single time, because when you do that, it makes the defense guess. And so when they do run the ball, there's more room for Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. And when they, if you decide, hey, we're going to stack the box, we're going to move down, then you get a one-on-one with Cortland Sutton and somebody, or Jerry Jeudy and somebody. I think the Broncos like their chances there. So that stood out from an offensive perspective. Defensively, The pass rush continues to look really good.
Yeah.
Nick Bonito would have had a QB hit in a game. He drew a holding penalty. Malik Reed had one sack that would have counted in the game, and then he took Eric Tomlinson and he just pushed him right back into Russell Wilson. That would have also caused some issues for the offense. And Baron Browning, too. He was called a freak the other day by one of his teammates. He continues to just make plays. He was there in run support. So they're going to need something from these backup edge rushers, I think. As we've talked about, Randy Gregory's still working his way back. You have a healthy Bradley Chubb finally, which is great. But I think there's a lot of talent here at the reserve spot. And with Jonathan Cooper being a little bit nicked up, he still hasn't done teamwork. I think you're looking at Malik, you're looking at Baron Browning, and you're looking at Nick Bonito as kind of those 3, 4, 5 guys in some order or another.
Well, going back to the offense for a little bit, Coach Hackett said on Saturday that the offense finished their installs. They're not going to be learning anything new, from here on out. So what do you want to see from that group specifically, Eric? As we only have 3 days left of camp, which is crazy to even say.
I know, that's wild. Yeah, it's nice that they have everything in. Now what you've got to do is you've got to perfect it. So when the Cowboys come here this week, you've got to run things crisply. You've got to run things cleanly. You want to kind of get that perfect rep that coaches are always looking for, because it's likely that these guys are not going to see a ton of time on Saturday in the game. So what you want to do is you want to get your best tape out there, see how it works against a different defense, continue to perfect those things. We heard Tim Patrick back in the spring, and obviously Tim's hurt now, but he said we've been putting in all this extra time so we don't start slow when the season gets here. Well, now that you have the whole offense in, these are the 4 or 5 weeks that you have to make sure that everything is perfect. So you don't want to see guys waste reps. You don't want to see silly mistakes like false starts or illegal formations or things like that. You've really got to make the most of these opportunities moving forward.
Well, as the days are winding down now, I feel like the only position group we haven't really talked about on this show is the D-line. Yeah. Deshaun Williams, he's had a really great camp so far, I think. Draymond Jones, he seems like he's set to have a big year. DJ Jones, he was back at practice today. What do you just think about that group overall? Yeah,
the starting unit I think is really good. You mentioned Draymond Jones. He's kind of this guy that has always had a really good training camp. He kind of turned it on toward the end of last year. He's a guy that he's got to do it from the start of the season, and we've got to figure out a way for him to get going early. But when he's on, Sydney, no one can really stop him. He's powerful. He's quick. He's got that great first step. You mentioned DJ Jones. They're going to work him back in slowly after he was gone for a few days with his wife as they had their first kid. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
But he's a guy that he plugs up the middle of the defense. He takes on 2 blocks. He's going to allow Josie Jewell, Jonas Griffith, who looks like the starter there, to come in and make those tackles and run support. So he's a really big piece there. And then Deshaun Williams, a guy that just continues to surprise people, former undrafted guy, took a long time for him to stick in this league, but now is essentially almost a guaranteed starter, I think, for this team. So the starting lineup is really, really good. I like where they are there. It's behind them where maybe I have a few questions, because you've got Mike Purcell, who obviously a former starter. He's not much of a question mark. He's going to be the backup, I think, for DJ Jones and be a really good backup, probably among the better backup nose tackles that you can ask for in this league. But the defensive end spots are interesting because you have guys like Matt Henningsen, a rookie. You've got guys like Inyomo Wazirike, a rookie who he looked like he got a little banged up at the end of practice, so we'll have to see where he's at. You've got Jonathan Harris. You've got McTelvin Agim. They're all going to kind of be fighting for these spots, and, you likely only carry 6 guys. So with Purcell in the mix, you figure Inyomo Wazirike makes the team as a 4th-round pick. Now you've got a bunch of guys kind of competing for that final spot. Do the Broncos think they have enough there? Do they have to look outside, on the waiver wire or through a trade? That's what you kind of have to look for, because if one of those guys on the defensive line gets banged up and misses a little bit of time, now's where you worry a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll see from some of those younger guys this Saturday in the Broncos' first preseason game. I can't believe only 5 days away from that. The coordinator spoke to the media today, and Eric, this will be both Ejiro Evero and Justin Outman's, first game as coordinators. So where will they call their plays from? What should we expect from them on Saturday?
Yeah, well, it sounds like Justin Allen's going to be up in the booth. He's going to be kind of the eyes in the sky for Nathaniel Hackett. Obviously, Hackett's the play caller there, so it's more of him calling up to Justin Allen and saying, hey, what did you see on this play? What did the defense do there? What did we get on this run play? What did you like? What do you not like? Those are things, obviously, in the regular season when you're trying to beat a team and you want to capitalize on things. That's where that matters more, but you've got to work through the process now. And so those are important reps for them. And then Evero, it sounds like he's going to be on the sideline. And it's interesting because for 3 years, Vic Fangio was here, and he said, people don't realize how bad of a view you get on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's much better to be up in the booth. You can see what's going on. You can see your players. You can see plays develop. But Evero said despite all that, he'd rather be on the sideline because you get that one-on-one interaction. You can talk with your players. You can, kind of get that sense and emotionally connect with them.
Yeah.
So he's going to call plays from down there. And I think he's the guy in particular to keep an eye on because it's his first time calling plays, his first time designing a play sheet and having control of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And then his first time just kind of going through the whole operation in terms of getting the play call into a guy like Josie Jewell, if that's who it ends up being, or, Jonas Griffith or Alex Singleton, whoever's in there.
Yeah.
His first time going through that process, his first time working with guys up in the booth to say, hey, what am I missing? What are we doing well? What are we not? So I'm really interested to see kind of how he does in that situation because to me, Cindy, this defense has all the talent in the world. I think a lot of the questions are, can Coach E put them in a position to succeed?
Well, Eric, I know you asked Coach E if, guys like Bradley Chubb, Justin Simmons, Pat Surtain, if we would see them play at all on Saturday. And I loved his response. He said, certain guys have already shown what they can do, and we are very pleased with what they can do. So, to me, that sounds like we're not going to see much from them on Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't know if that means for sure that they won't play at all or if that means they won't play at all in the preseason. But I think it is pretty clear that you're not going to see Justin Simmons out there for a half of football.
No.
He's an all-pro. You know what you're going to get from him. You know what you're going to get from Pat Surtain and Bradley Chubb. And I think that's good from a player standpoint. It tells you if you work hard, this coaching staff is going to reward you. I know a lot of guys, they don't want to go out there and play preseason football. So this tells them you work hard in practice, we'll take care of you on game day.
Well, just a couple more practices left. Looking forward to the joint practice on Thursday. Should be a fun one. And then the preseason game on Saturday.
Getting closer.
I know. Thank you, Eric. And following practice today, we had a chance to catch up with several players to get their thoughts on this week's joint practice versus the Cowboys and what to expect. Take a listen to what tight end Alberto Cuebanam and defensive linemen DJ Jones and Mike Purcell had to say.
It's exciting. You know what I mean? Been going against these guys for a long time now, so it's going to be really good. I think we are competitive right now, but it's even going to go up a whole nother level when we get to go against another team, and we're all excited for that.
I don't think it's any different. You come to practice as if it was a game every day, work technique with the same guys. You're just going to get somebody different. Running the same plays, so shouldn't be too much different. Just might be a little more physical.
Well, you kind of get a feel for what's going on. So, I feel like I got a pretty good feel for what the offense is doing. Obviously, it's a little different than years in the past. You got three back there, and a proven vet like that, he can switch things on a dime. And but to kind of have a new team come in here, new faces, new scheme, whatever it might be, new players to go against. We kind of, it's a camp. So we kind of get frustrated with each other and take it out on each other during practice, but it's kind of nice to get new faces and new team out here and go against them.
Now it's time to take a look at today's injury update. The Broncos are starting this week a little healthier. DJ Jones, K'Wan Williams, Jonathan Cooper, and Christopher Allen were all back at practice today. Tyree Cleveland and Netane Muti were the only players on the active roster not practicing. Tom Compton, Billy Turner, and Randy Gregory remain on the PUP list. Well, looks like that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Broncos Now. Hope to see you all right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for day 12 of training camp tomorrow. I'll see you all then.